Okay, now the first thing we need to do to set up Firebase is we have to go to the Firebase website and create a Firebase project. How we do that is on the website. If you're not signed into a Google account, do that now. And when you do, you will have access to this Go to Console button. So we click that and it will launch the Firebase console. Now on this console, I have some projects already, but you don't need this. So what you're going to do is you're going to click Add Project. And then you're going to name it whatever you want. So I'm going to name mine Crown DB. And we're going to accept the terms and conditions, and we're going to hit Create Project. And while it's loading, it's essentially setting up all of our authentication services, our database, our backend, everything for us. So this is actually quite fast considering all of the things that it's doing for us. Once it's ready, we hit Continue, and it will take us to this dashboard. Now, in this dashboard, there's two main things I want to focus on. The first is this bottom section where we see the plan. So the free plan is honestly enough for all of our needs and purposes for not only testing, but also when we deploy this live as our portfolio project. It's very rare that we will probably exceed any of the request amount limits on the free Spark plan. But if we do, it's not that expensive if you do with the pay as you go, because you essentially only pay for anything you exceed by. And it's generally going to be pretty marginal because it's not actually a full-fledged app in production with a lot of users. After we look at this, we got to look at our develop section. So here we're going to see all of the services that are available to us. The main ones we want to focus on are the authentication and the database. So the authentication has to do with what authentication varieties, like sign-in methods, we want our Firebase to have access to. We'll go into this a little deeper a little later once we start integrating it. The database is actually where it's going to hold all of the data that we want to store in our Firebase project. And again, we're also going to cover that a little later. Storage is for storing images, videos, and more like assets if we wanted to host them somewhere on the web. The hosting is if we wanted Firebase to handle our website's hosting for us, which we don't need that. Functions we don't have to worry about. And ML-Kit is for machine learning, which we also do not need to worry about. So let's configure our Firebase. So what we got to do is we got to go to this project overview tab, and then we're going to hit this little icon that says web. Then we're going to register our app with a nickname, and this nickname is mostly internal, so it's not really important, but I'm just going to call it Crown DB. And then I'm going to hit register app. We don't need to set up Firebase hosting because we don't need that, but it's an optional thing. And then we'll get this code snippet that essentially allows us to add this to our HTML. But because we're JavaScript developers, we are just going to copy this object, and then we're going to go back to our terminal. And in our terminal, we are going to yarn add the Firebase project. And once this package is loaded, let's start configuring and adding Firebase into our application.